All right, let's cut the music because this is going on YouTube. At least I hope so. All right, season 21, right? I hope so. Mid-patch. Patch notes. I did see this. This is actually gonna be, I'm surprised it took this long to get to quads, given that, you know, like every other BR has quads. And I think a lot of people often think about, like, you know, what would like a comp team look like with quads? That shit could go crazy. Although I'm not personally a fan of quads. I don't like it myself in other games either. I think it's just too many people, too many cooks in the kitchen. I think 3 is actually a really good size. One reason I really liked Apex when it came out. And I believe this is removing solos, right? This is taking over solos. Me personally, I'm not a fan of that, because like I said, I already don't like quads. It's not an Apex thing. I just don't like them in other BRs. So kind of sad for that, because solos is fun, but you know, whatever. I play ranked mostly anyway. That should be interesting though. I think you could probably devise a lot of like crazy comps though. I'd be curious if there's like, I'm curious if there's like gonna be like a hard meta in it, you know what I mean? Like if people are like gonna realize, because you know like how people realize like Newcastle Lifeline was like insane for the 3 strikes. Anyways, I did see this collection event, partly on Twitter. Some cool skins. I think there's a lot of them. There's like a lot of skins, I believe, that have like, what's it called? Or like the legends are kind of cosplaying the other legends. Cool concept. I hope that doesn't get misconstrued in game. But you know, here we are. Reward tracker, store tab. Not really looking at all that. We're here for the real meat and potatoes. Ranked Rumble. Finish off your ranked season by finding out who takes the top in our very first ranked Rumble. People's regular ranked season will be shorter than when ranked Rumble takes over, but this is all about the best of the best. Each ranked tier will qualify for their very own leaderboard, with each one having a unique badge that can be earned. Squad up with your friends, complete 10 ranked Rumble matches. Okay, so is this like I didn't actually see this. Is this like a really shortened, just kind of like ranked season? A 3-day like ranked grind? I actually didn't see anything about this. I didn't know about this. That's kind of cool. That's a pretty good like content event, I feel like. Each ranked tier, oh wait, okay, yeah, I missed that, or I didn't really take that part into account. Each ranked tier will qualify for their very own leaderboard. So is this kind of like League Clash, but like Apex? That's a cool idea. In theory, you rank against people who are in your rank, but it's like, you're kind of like battling against them. That's kind of cool. Surely won't be ruined by infinite cheaters. Yeah, well, you know. I like to think of things in the most idealistic sense. Now we're here at the real meat and potatoes though. All right, care package, purple light mag added. I didn't know that wasn't in there. Not that it really matters because no one picks up light weapons at the moment, at least in high levels. Gold weapon rotation will be Nemesis, Burst AR, Triple Take, Peacekeeper, Prowler, Longbow. Okay, not bad. Not bad, at least currently as things stand. End rings, oh, I did see this. Now this is a huge change. I'm a huge fan of this change. This is something I've been advocating on the back end, and it seems like they're kind of going with it, like for the most part, almost fully. I was always telling them like obviously in a game with Apex, like when you look at an Apex map, you can't just distribute zones evenly, right? There's a lot of places that can't have zones. There's a lot of places that shouldn't have zones, right? It's not necessarily a fair amount of zones per area of the map. I've always thought that I think a better system would have been like to literally distribute the map into 4 quadrants, and then you don't have to have the same amount of zones per quadrant, but at least have like, or rather, it would be nice to have the same amount of zones, but just have like an equal chance for them to all be there. Obviously, if you haven't watched any of the Apex comp in the past month or so, or even LAN, we've definitely had a huge issue where zones, I don't know what happened, but zones are ending up all in like the same exact place, and it's obviously very bad. It's not fun to play. I doubt it's fun to watch the same zone over and over, but I don't know. I'm not on the viewer side of things. Obviously, my heart's a little bit more in it in a different way. I love this end ring system. If it works the way it reads, beautiful. Honestly, I saw Raven's post about it, and I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. That's like literally at least what I've always wanted, at least for a comp setting. I know a lot of people were like, surely they could just make it so it doesn't do the same zone twice or something like that. I don't like those. Like, I don't mind getting the same zone back to back. I've always wanted a system where it was random, in a sense, as much as it can be random, but I've never wanted a system that can be metagamed, which right now it definitely can be. It feels like it can be, at least. But a lot of people are like, oh, just make it so the same zone doesn't happen twice, which one, probably sounds like a nightmare server side to be able to do that for an individual server. But I don't know, I don't code. 2, I wouldn't want it, like say it was a skyhook zone, I wouldn't want it to be like a similar looking zone, but then everybody in the game is like, oh, but it just went skyhook, so it can't go there, so we play for these other zones, right? Like that, I don't think that would be very interesting. So I do like this change a lot. I think it's going to be really fucking healthy for the game. On paper, you know, at the end of the day, we got to see how things work. I'm sure there might be bugs or something, who knows? But on paper, this is one of the best things. I think this is coming to comp in a very long time. So I'm excited for that. Survival slot items have been redistributed to lower tier loot zones. This is a huge change. What that means, you know, in fact, we'll even pull up the Apex map on this. I'll give you a little insight into the juice. For example, like I think Monument is a great example of this, right? So we can go here and we look at all the loot zone qualities. We can look at the weapon spawns, we can look at the supply bins, right? So this is all the loot, for example, in Monument and Frag. These are all the weapon spawns, or just ground spawns, and the chests that you can find. The only place currently in Apex that you can find, for example, like the biggest thing you would want, at least in competitive, obviously you would want an evac tower. The only place in this entire area that you can find an evac tower is here. These 2 bins and this fucking building. If you don't get an evac tower there, you're shit out of luck. You ain't getting one. This change will actually make a lot of the worst POIs on the map feel a little bit better. That's actually such a big change. Really, really big for like, I mean, pretty much any POI that doesn't have these. I mean, I guess on World's Edge, Monument's like really the only one. I guess oh, never mind. It just didn't load in. Monument's pretty much the only one. So that's actually a huge Monument and Frag East buff. Shouldn't be saying this on stream for the teams that don't know, because you'd be surprised how many teams don't actually know that. But you know, this is what I do for you guys, hence why you see me streaming 2 days in a row. Anyways, back to the content. But yeah, that's what this change means. All right, weapon changes. G7 Scout, damage increased to 33, was 32. Rate of fire increased. Wow, that's crazy. Adjusted recoil to be more consistent when firing at max rate. The G7s felt a little underwhelming, and our data backs that up. When we were evaluating its rate of fire, we realized its recoil could use a pass as well. So we smoothed out what we think the roughest spots are and given it a little more damage. This should help the G7 be competitive with the rest of our marksman and sniper roster. I'm actually very surprised that this is getting a buff. I don't know if it's just because I've always been a scout enthusiast. It's been one of my favorite guns in the game since the very beginning. Even when it wasn't seen as like very good. I just like using the gun. I think it's fun to use. I mean, look, they got the data to reflect it. I wish sometimes they would kind of like give us the inside baseball on the data, you know, show us a little bit of it, because I am curious. I am surprised though, because I feel like the Scout was in a pretty good place. I don't think the problem with Scout was necessarily that the Scout, again, this is just me kind of thinking outside of the box. A lot of times the DMRs get slept on, and it's not necessarily, I've explained this concept a little bit several times in streams, but if you haven't heard it, a lot of times a lot of the DMRs get slept on, and it's not necessarily because they're not good. Again, I'm not saying like they're wrong on this. I'm sure they have data that does prove that maybe the Scout is underperforming, but a lot of people do generally skip out on DMRs when the other weapons that are in the same ammo class are bad. For example, when R9 was meta, Scout was huge, and I don't think Scout really changed much at all. It's just easy when you're like, say you're running Scout R9, right? Scout's very ammo efficient. You can carry an extra stack or 2 and you'll have plenty enough ammo for both of the guns. Or Scout R3, Scout whatever. If you wanted to swap to an R9 later, or an R3 or something that's in the same ammo class, it's very easy. The main attachments that you need, which is basically the mag, only the mag really, and maybe the sight as well, those transfer literally at the same time as you pick up the weapon. It's a really easy swap, and that's why, at least at the higher level, that's why you see most the DMRs that are being used. For example, I can tell you that most people don't think the triple take is really that good. The reason everyone's using it is because energy weapons are just hot. So I am surprised the Scout's getting buffed this hard. It is definitely going to be a Scout meta. For sure. This is going to be like, this is obviously we don't have the numbers on the rate of fire increase, but definitely be picking this shit up next patch. I think the gun's already good. Maybe I just use it a lot and I'm comfortable with it, but people are going to be beaming the shit out of you. Speaking of things they need to fix, the Havoc rifle. All mag sizes reduced. No mag 20, 24. White mag 24 was 28. Blue mag 28 was 32. Purple mag 32 was 36. I mean, I'm going to echo what everyone else is saying. This is not enough. You can still do so much with the current Havoc. You can still do so much with 20 bullets. You can still do so much with 32. You can still one clip like 2.5 people with 32 bullets, assuming obviously you hit everything. Obviously, I don't want to see them. I don't like to see guns nerfed into the ground to the point where they're completely irrelevant, but this, as a starter nerf, like, we'll take it. The mag size definitely is way too much for a gun this strong, for sure. So it's not a bad nerf. It's just, right off of just the patch list, I can tell you it's not enough. And I'm sure everyone else is probably saying that too. But we'll see how it goes. Longbow, headshot multiplier increased to 2.25 was 2.15. I'm not smart enough to know how those numbers translate just off the top of my head, but that's still pretty big. I do think the longbow got overshadowed a little bit because at times it didn't feel like it did enough damage. So I don't think that's a bad way to buff it at all. I think it's not bad. R9, reduced hipfire randomness. I think this is definitely needed. I'm a kind of an R9 hater at this state in my life. I think it's a fun gun to use. I just hate when everybody's running it. I'm so over SMG meta, so like I think this meta was kind of a breath of fresh air. I do think it lasted maybe a little bit too long. That's just my own personal bias, but over the last few patches, we nerfed the R9 because it was a significant outlier. Yes, performing well above the rest of the pack. Those nerfs were substantial, and the R9 has fallen a little too far for our liking and is feeling unreliable. These adjustments intend to bring up its consistency without directly increasing its damage potential. I think, look, the R9 felt horrible to use. I don't think anybody will disagree. I think this is a pretty good change. We'll see how it actually plays out, though. I don't want guns to be completely useless on the ground, you know? That's one thing I don't want, despite how much I might hate some of them. Rampage. Firing animation has less vertical movement while in ADS. That's good. I think this is still a slept-on gun, by the way, but I think it's just situational to what you're doing. I just think it's a fun gun. Weapon rarity sets. Peacekeeper, blue and purple. Optic updated, okay. Charge rifle and sentinel, purple, okay. Nothing crazy there. I did see this one, though. 4 to 10 digital threat scope will no longer provide threat vision through smoke or gas. That's an interesting change. Like, I get it. I think they just want to do away with people seeing through smoke. But, like, I don't know. Maybe it's because there's a lot of control players and nobody ever picks it up. But, like, I don't think this is like that. Like, they're so rare. It feels like if someone is even gonna run this, maybe 1 or 2 people in the whole lobby. And even then, it's not like they have a Kraber, right? I mean, I guess they can if they charge up a Sentinel, but I don't think like this is that oppressive. Oh, still has threat vision, just not in smoke. Okay. All right, that makes sense. Through smoke or gas. Okay. All right, that's fair then. I like it. I like it then. That's fine. I don't think it needed that nerf, but who cares? All right, Alter. Void Passage Crypto EMP will now affect all players phased by the Void Passage. I wish they had a dev note on this, because I am curious. Like, I feel like, how were people abusing this? Like, I know obviously like Tech and Crypto, or Tech and his squad, but like, who else? I feel like, I don't know. I feel like this is such a niche thing that I'm surprised it got changed. I don't think it's like game breaking at all. I think, like as I mentioned in the beginning of the stream, the reason you saw any clips of it was because Tech is doing it to teams that are not good, and that's not like shame on Tech. Like, he knows he's just farming the CC players. I'm just surprised they made the changes all. I don't really have any thoughts here or there on whether it should be a change. I'm just surprised. Bangalore, smoke launcher. All players within smoke will now have a white highlight visible to other players in smoke within 20 meters. I definitely have some thoughts on this one. Dev note, fighting inside bank smoke has never been a pleasant experience. True. Players or viewers, as it makes you fight messy and hard to read. We are leveling the playing field now by making all players inside smoke clear targets to one another with a white highlight. This highlight is not visible from outside the smoke. All the rotational and side blocking gameplay are kept intact. However, while playing inside the smoke will be more clear, it will also be more risky, and resets will be much harder if the smoke is challenged. I'm like not sure fully on where I stand on this yet, because I like the idea of smokes. They're very good defensively. I'm leaning towards I like it more than I hate it. Not necessarily because I like the idea of everyone being able to see this, but more so because bang smoke is extremely inconsistent. Smoke is client side in this game, and what that means is the smoke that when a bang shoots a smoke out, the smoke that you see on your screen isn't necessarily the smoke that your enemy sees. Like, in terms of how it fills, sometimes like the one-way area, like the very edges of it, right? So I think this will make it it will kind of even that curb a little bit of like unsure of whether or not how the smokes look for you guys, right? So I think it's good in the sense that will eliminate that. I do like that, right? It'll make fights just make more sense. So I think I'm leaning towards I like it more than I hate it. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I actually just like it. I'm not a fan, because obviously there's so much stuff in this game where you just can't see, or you have trouble seeing what you're shooting at or who you're fighting. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I would always like, I'd love, for example, like for people that you're shooting at directly or you have damage, to maybe have like a slight like red outline over them, like kind of like Overwatch does. You know, stuff like that. So like, I'm a big fan of just being able to see what you're shooting at or what's going on in a huge visual clutter. I'm kind of nervous about some bugs, maybe. You know, maybe some people not properly showing up when they should be, or maybe like if the range says smoke within 20 meters, but you know, I'm not expecting it to work perfectly. And that's not like any shade. That's just, I've been around a lot of games that make a lot of changes, and you know, bugs are just a natural part of the process. I think it's a change in the right direction, at least just for not dying and being like, what the fuck did I just die to? Because that's never a fun experience for anyone. I am a little worried about how aim assist is going to work with it, if that somehow like gets changed unannounced. I was talking about it with my team earlier in scrims, but I also like aim assist is weird with smokes. Sometimes it like gives it to you, sometimes it doesn't. I know there's like certain ways it works, but I feel like even then sometimes it doesn't work. I don't know. As long as they don't get like crazy ass aim assist, I'm good. We're good. It'll definitely change the way a lot of fights play out, and it'll make fights just more readable. It's a good change. But this is the big one, for sure. And this is the one, sorry, Larson, if you're out there, I'm so sorry I didn't respond to your DM. I kind of wish I would have. But, Bloodhound. Beast of the Hunt threat vision is no longer visible through smoke or gas. So that means Bloodhound in an ult can't see you. You don't appear red. They can't, you're not just going to start getting beamed through smoke, which is good. I think that's a good change. I'm hoping it works consistently, because like I said, bang smoke is client side. But regardless, I think it's a solid change. Bloodhound's upgrade level 2 goes from Raven's Blessing ult charge reduced to 20% was 25%. They really don't want people pressing the ult button. First the change to, was it a 4-minute ult? Now this. I mean, I can see it. Bloodhound definitely is a character that needed nerfed for quite some time. I am also like full biases on the table, so everyone knows. I've always hated Bloodhound since the start of the game. One of my most hated characters, and that's just a personal bias. That doesn't mean the character needs to be deleted. That's just me. I just don't think Bloodhound is a fun character to fight with or against. But that's just a personal bias. Upgrades level 3, new Sighthound. Reduce attack cooldown by 50% while ultimate is active. New Flock. Remove enemy range requirement for White Raven spawns. Okay. I can tell you almost without a shadow of a doubt that everyone's just going to go new Sighthound. I don't think you need this. New enemy range requirement for White Raven spawns. If an enemy is near you, I guess the only reason maybe you would want this is if you just want more birds to charge your ult. I think that's the only use case for this. Because if there's an enemy near you, you're probably going to know. You're not going to need a White Raven to tell you where the next team is if they're already within range, generally speaking. Unless maybe there's like rats, or maybe there's a team ratting. But if this, I could see this maybe, this could be like just a huge ult charger, which maybe actually might be why people take it. I could see that. But regardless, this is a big change right here. Reduce attack cooldown by 50% while ult is active. I need to look at the numbers because I haven't looked at Bloodhound's numbers in some time. Things have changed. Beast of the Hunt, the ult lasts 30 seconds. If you were to have that passive, reduces the ult cooldown by 50%. So 12.5 seconds. So you would get 2 scans. The third one if you get a knock. That's not as strong as I thought it would be. I remember, so like I said, Larson or JBeebs messaged me asking me what my thoughts are about this. I didn't initially like it, but I didn't really look at the numbers. I still don't really like it because I think all it does is it shifts the power of Bloodhound ult from what it currently is to you just put a fragger on Bloodhound, make them pop the ult, you smoke them, visual clutter their ass up, and you just have them beam them through the smoke, right? Now it just shifts to, if people continue to play Bloodhound, that is, keep in mind. Now that's just going to shift people to doing the same thing, only instead of Bloodhound being the fragger, now Bloodhound plays for the scans for the other two to walk in, especially with the bang smoke change, right? You scan, get an exact beat on where they are, either you nade them out, do whatever, or you'll know exactly how to push through smokes. So it just kind of changes the power of what Bloodhound does, and it shifts the power more to the other two players if they're fast enough at being able to, again, with the bang smoke change, I think it's going to make it more oppressive in that regard. It'll be interesting. I think most, at least pro teams, are probably going to take this. I feel like they should take this. I do want to read about this, the dev note though. I always like reading about the thought process behind things. So sometimes even the best teams break up and go their separate ways. Bloodhound's ult has had a strong synergy with Bangalore smoke, but the pairing has recently become dominant and a singular answer to the can't see stuff meta. I like that they're like just hard addressing it instead of like kind of sugarcoating it. With the removal of threat vision through smoke, Bloodhound will need to rely on their tac scan like other recon legends. This should remove the necessity of the dynamic duo to pair together and allow for new roster compositions to form in its wake. Wishful thinking, but I don't think that's going to be the case, because those characters are still very good at other things. People don't just pick Hound and Bang for those reasons. Like it's not like not much is going to change. Bloodhound is one of the best characters in the game at micro rotating. Obviously not the character rotating themselves, but more so like gaining a spot, unsure of what the next area in front of you looks like. Is there someone there? Is that building maybe open in between the other two teams fighting? One scan, instantly you have all the information you need and you keep it going, right? So they're still really good at everything else that they do. So I don't think you're going to see, some teams maybe might get off of it, but I don't think you're going to see too many people get off of it. We were noticing how much the White Raven passive would fall off in the late game as enemies are naturally closer, making Raven's Blessing upgrade much less valuable after the first ring. The new level 3 upgrade will also allow players to play off White Ravens across the match and fuel their ult more effectively. Okay, so yeah, I was pretty much right on what they're going for. Alternatively, players can now tap into back into some of Bloodhound's ult scan potential while in their ult. These changes aim to shift power away from simply securing knocks for late game benefit into more opportunities to use the ult or the tac through new upgrade choices. Yeah, so on top of like, while I was reading that, I was also thinking about this. Now you can also use Bloodhound ult to just rotate. You might see people doing that. Like having a scan on a 12-second cooldown, you don't even necessarily need to use that to fight. Go back to the example I was just talking about, right? For micro rotating. You gain a spot, unsure of what the area looks like in front of you. If there's a spot even further into zone open, pop the Hound ult, scan, go to the next spot, restabilize within the next 12 seconds, you can do it again, right? So people might just be popping Hound ult just to rotate and navigate really, really congested zones. So that is a thing. I feel like ultimately people are going to mostly take this. I can see a case for for this one as well, because like I said, you can get your ult back faster, which is very strong. Hound ult is still very strong even despite the changes, I think. I mean, overall so far I kind of like the patch. I do like that it's turning into a like I can't see anything, let's all just shoot through things meta. So I think so far like that is a plus in my book, because I don't think anyone has, like I said, we don't have fun being a part of it. I can't imagine it's fun for you guys to watch your favorite teams get absolutely decimated with Hound ult through smoke where they have zero counterplay. So I do like that they're addressing a lot of that. I think that's a really good part of this patch. But like I said, I'm a little worried that this might just shift with the bang smoke change. This might just shift Bloodhound's power to the teammates more than Bloodhound themselves. I don't think much will change in that regard, but I think the gameplay will be less annoying. Pathfinder, upgrade level 3, down and away attack will now refresh on both knocks and assisted knocks within a 3-second window. Same with Revenant, I did see this. I think it's a really good change. It's a really fun change. I'm a little worried about the Revenant one, for ranked at least. It's already kind of a pain in ranked. So I'm surprised Remnant's getting that treatment too. But I like the change a lot for Path. I'm an old head, man. I'm one of those that always is down for, I don't mind Pathfinder being broken. I think Pathfinder's such a fun character. He's not overly oppressive like a lot of the characters in the game, except for his head glitches. Pathfinder has some of the most disgusting head glitches imaginable in this game because of where his head hitbox is relative to like getting shot. It's so annoying. But either way. All right. So that's all for the balance changes. Okay. I expected a little bit more. Maps. Pubs are Broken Moon, King's Canyon, Olympus. Ranked Broken Moon, Olympus, World's Edge. I'm kind of in, dude. I actually really liked the current ranked rotation. Obviously they got to change it, but I'm kind of like in favor of just like nuking World's Edge at this point, man. Like I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of over it personally. Look, this might be a hot take, but I enjoy ranked more on King's Canyon than I do World's Edge. And I know like there was a long time ago in the past, KC would come to ranked and everybody would like vie for it to be gone. I like King's Canyon ranked, but that's just me. Anyways, quads replacing duos. Again, me personally, not a fan of that, but I'm just a quads hater. I'll still probably try it. 15 teams of 4 players, loot improvements. Okay, lobby supports a 4th player for inviting. Okay, lobby legend ability adapts to support a 4th squad member. That's pretty cool. All good stuff. Solos to an LTM. I'm curious if maybe it just didn't, because like I gotta imagine that them putting solos in was like a, hey, do we think maybe there's a spot for this to just stay forever? I'm curious if it didn't do well enough, because in the past they didn't put solos in because after the initial one because they felt like it was actually hurtful for the game. It's not because they didn't want to do it. So I'm curious, actually. Mixtape. Does anybody ever read the mixtape changes? They just play it. Ranked Rumble takes over the normal ranked league at the start of the season as the singular ranked offering. Ranked entry cost, placement, and KP tuning updated to lower entry cost above bronze tier, gold. Okay. Gold 35 was 40, platinum 55 was 60, diamond 75 was 80. Placement RP tuning now follows ALGS rules that all top 15 will gain points. I like that. Any ranked following any form of ALGS is pretty good. Kill point tuning, 814 was 12. Okay. We received valuable insights from last season's data and community feedback that made slight adjustments based on both. I actually didn't play in like the last Rumble thing that was going on. I forget what I was doing at the time, but I was like super busy and I wasn't able to even try that, so I don't know what that was like. The entry cost above bronze has been lowered slightly. All the top 15 players now receive corresponding placement points and increasing the KP for players in the top 6 to 8 positions, with the potential for more updates coming as we continue to monitor. We reward players for excellent strategic choices and placement, for outstanding combat performances and kills. Achieving top 5 placement in many ways is your strategic choice, but we won't reward you with additional points. You must validate your placement with eliminations. Okay, I mean, kind of fuck with it. Don't have too many thoughts on that, to be honest. There's some pretty big like system changes here that I feel like we definitely might get hit with some bugs. I hope that, you know, that's just the natural way of things. Nothing against any of the devs. It's just like you put new shit in, you're gonna get some bugs. It's just happened. Type for hodsic, what this will do. What do you mean? Do you prefer the VODs? I'm scared. I gotta say, these are like not a lot of crazy changes, but the actual changes that are being made are very big. They can either feel, I think it's gonna make if everything works the way it should, I think it's gonna make the game feel a lot more consistent, and I think that's important. I don't think much is gonna change though. Like they said in the, I think it was the Bloodhound dev note, at least at the high end level. Because I'm assuming that, I don't know if people run this shit like crazy in like console, if they run these same comps or if they run their own things. I know in ranked, people run a lot more support legends just to make sure they can get themselves back in the game if things go south. But I don't think this is going to change the meta drastically at all. Like I said, I think if you take this, it shifts the power of Hound ult in fights to your teammates, and Bang is still good. Smokes are still good. Smokes, Bang ult, all of that is still so good. both offensively and defensively. I don't think you'd have to like severely gut Bangalore to the fucking ground to a point where she's not playable for her base kit to just not be useful. You think the scout buff will put it meta? I think, hot take, I mean, yes, I do think it'll be really strong, but I also think a lot of it will depend on how good the R9 is. If the R9 is really good, or like if it's usable again, people will start running the scout a lot more, because then other people will run R9. You can swap to them easier. That is a huge thing that people take into account. Even if they don't know it, they do it subconsciously. But yeah, I think you'll start seeing people pick up the scout. I mean, I thought the gun was fine the way it is personally, but again, I'm a certified scout slut. I think the gun was, I've just used the gun for most of my Apex career, so like I'm very comfortable with it. I think for the people that are good with the scout, this shit is going to fuck. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up. I think overall, solid patch. Solid patch. I wish the Havoc got nerfed more. Obviously, that's like, this is like probably my biggest pain point is I wish the Havoc got nerfed more. But I understand they don't want to completely gut it. They don't want to give the R9 treatment.